Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sari and this is my cat Luna, and I'm going to be talking about my recent trip to the United States in this video, so this might be a bit longer video than what I have been making recently, because I think there's going to be so many things that I want to show and say and talk to you about. But in case you are new here or you missed my trip, I was traveling around the States for the past 2 weeks, and now I'm back at home. And I started my trip in Seattle. I first went there for a couple of days to get over the first jet lag, because the time difference between Seattle and Helsinki, where I live in Finland, is 10 hours, so that's quite a lot. And I didn't want to go straight from the airplane after a 13-hour flight to teach, so I wanted to take a couple of days for myself and get over the worst jet lag, and also get to know the lay of the land a bit. And after that I went to Bainbridge Island to La Mercerie yarn shop. They were hosting me there for a weekend, but I already mentioned it was a 13-hour flight. So what do you do on a 13-hour flight? If you're a knitter like me, then of course you're going to knit, and I think one of the hardest parts of my packing was to decide what projects to take with me, what I want to knit during my trip, and how much yarn is enough yarn so that you have enough, but not too much, because I was still going to go visit yarn shops. I was going to Vogue Knitting live, so there was going to be more yarn. And how much of the yarn to take on the plane as carry-on, and what to put in the bigger suitcase into the trunk. So I think that was the hardest part for me about packing. It's always the hardest part for me about packing, to decide the yarns and projects to bring on the trip. I also often like to cast on something new when I travel, because for me traveling or knitting is also kind of like a form of memory keeping. So if I knit something during a special moment in my life, that memory is going to be always imprinted in the knit, and every time I see it or wear it or use it or take a photo of it, I get reminded of that time of my life. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to cast on something new as well on the trip. But the first thing I did was I finished my beret. So I think I showed this to you in my previous video. I haven't woven in all the yarn ends, but I realized that I haven't actually cut them, because I need the weaving in on the airplane and I didn't have my scissors on the airplane. So these are all already woven in. I just haven't cut the yarn, so I have to remember to do that after finishing this video. So I started by finishing this one. So this is my Bisbis beret pattern. I made the pattern already a couple of years ago, and I was teaching a top-down hat class at La Mercerie, so I wanted to finish this sample for the class. So this is started at the little I-cord at the top, and then it's increased to the full circumference of the beret, and then there are a couple of decreases and an I-cord bind off for the edge. So this is how the beret looks like. It's really cute little beret, and I wanted to have like this happier, more brighter color. My winter coat, all my winter coats are black or gray, so I like having kind of like these colorful accessories to wear, so they brighten up my coat. And also when I'm traveling, especially during winter, I usually always only have just one winter coat with me. So having colorful different accessories, they don't take that much space in my suitcase, so I usually always take a few different beanies, a couple of different little scarves with me, so I can keep changing them and changing the look, so I don't just like wear the same coat and same hat in every single photo taken of me. So yay for bright accessories. I also have the same beret in white. So this is an older sample. It's a bit creased because it was in my suitcase. So I should reblock it. This is the white one and this is the new pink one. And I used Cardiff Cashmere for this one. It was a pink color. I don't have the yarns here next to me, but I will write all the yarn names, all the pattern names, colorway names, everything below this video. So if you want to check out what was the pattern I was talking about, or what was the yarn or the color that I was talking about, everything is written below this video. So go to the description section of this video, like the text below this video, and you can see the whole everything I talk about here written out. But anyway, Cardiff Cashmere, and I think I used Canard brushed lace for it as well. So this is Bisbis beret, and you can find the pattern in my Ravelry store as well as in my Shopify shop. So this was the first thing I finished. I didn't have a lot. I think I only had the decreases and the I-cord edge to do on the plain, so that didn't take me that long. And after that I continued working on my Laulu pullover. So it's this one, and if you have been watching my YouTube channel, you have seen this one before. But when I started on trip, I only had the lace yoke ready. So on the plane from Helsinki to Seattle, we had a stopover in Reykjavik. So I finished this part before separating the sleeves. So I separated the sleeves and the body. Then I added a couple of short rows to the back to make the back slightly longer than the front. You can see over here. No, let's see if I can hold it at the same time and show you, so you can see the front of the hem is a bit shorter than the back, and this improves the fit of the sweater. And I made it all the way down to the hem ribbing, so I didn't do the ribbing, but I made the whole stockinette section of the body on the rest of the flight to Seattle. And during my stay in Seattle, I made the sleeves. Of course, I made the hem ribbing, bound of the stitches, and then the sleeves. But then I didn't take enough of this yarn on my trip on the plane trip, the flight. So I ran out of yarn before I reached, or I couldn't do the hem because I didn't have enough yarn on the plane. So I had them in my suitcase in the trunk of the airplane, but not in my carry-on bag. So I didn't have enough yarn to continue on this one, so I wanted to cast on something new, and what I did was to cast on this sweater. So I ended up calling this the Ballard pullover because of the Ballard neighborhood in Seattle, where I spent most of my time while I was in Seattle before going to Bainbridge, and it was such a cute little neighborhood, so I wanted to name my sweater after that, so it's kind of like a little memory for me. So I started the back neck of this one on the plain, and I think I made it almost to the end of the somewhere over there. But I made like the back piece of this on the plain. So that's everything I needed on the plain. And after that, in Seattle, like I said, I continued working on this one. So for this one I used, let's see, Luna is in the way. I used this yarn that I bought from Barcelona Knits a year ago. So, sorry, my French pronunciation is crap, but this is Le Petit Point Parisiens, and this is their Yak DK base, and colorway is called Gris. Over there, like this one also, I will write it below the video. So this is 50% merino, 50% yak, and kind of like an undyed colorway. It's beautiful, like grayish color, not grey or brown, but something very grayish brown or brownish grey. Beautiful, beautiful color, and it's super soft. Like I said, it's DK weight, so that's what I'm using for this one. So it's just that yarn, no more hair for this one. And I've been working this on 3.5mm needles. It's US 4, and the ribbings are with 3mm, so US 2.5 needles. And right now I'm working on the sleeves. I haven't blocked this one yet. I gently steamed the body to see how the pattern opens up, so you can see the difference with the body that has been steamed and the sleeves that haven't been blocked at all. They start to really pull together, so it really opens up after it has been blocked. So you can see the whole pattern better, but now it's kind of like accordion drawing together. Yeah, this is the Ballard pullover, and only after I decided on the name and posted it for the first time on Instagram and used the hashtag, then I realized that I already have a Ballard pullover, so I hope it's not going to be too confusing to have two patterns with almost the same name, just another one has one extra letter, so Ballard pullover and Ballard pullover, but I hope it's not too confusing. I still want to keep the name Ballard for this sweater. I think I made it somewhere down to here on my whole trip, and then during the beginning of the week when I've been at home, I made the body, and yesterday I cast it on for the first sleeve. So just working on the first sleeve, and then I will write the pattern, so I'm hoping to have the call for the knitters for this one already next week. So this is the Ballard pullover, and it's a new pattern that I'm making. I'm hoping to get the pattern out in March. Let's see how quickly the test knitting phase goes. If there's nothing to be like bigger major issues with the pattern, then it should be ready in mid-March release. Let's see, let's hope that. Another thing that I casted on during the trip was the Mila pullover. So I still have it on a cable cord. I often put my knitting projects on either a waste yarn or these cable cords when I travel. If it's not something that I'm going to actively knit on the plane or on the train, then I often take out the needles and I put everything on these cords, especially if it's going into my suitcase. I had a couple of occasions when something that I knitted either the stitches fell down because the needles got off the work, or a few times that I have traveled somewhere, the needles broke and then I didn't have extra needles with me. This happened to me, for example, last time we went to Barcelona. The first thing I had to do when we got to Barcelona, I had to go and buy a new pair of needles because my needles broke. Especially because I often use wooden needles, and especially when I'm traveling I use wooden needles because those are much safer on the plane. I have never had an occasion that somebody takes away my wooden needles on the plane. I have actually never had an occasion that somebody takes metallic needles off me either, but that's mostly because I usually never travel with metallic needles, so I haven't taken the chance to see whether I'm allowed to take them or not, so I'm usually trying to be on the safe side and only take wooden needles when I travel, but those are more prone to breaking than just basic needles, like metallic needles. But anyway, like I said, I have them on the cable cord because I haven't had time to continue on this one ever since I got back home. Not we, it was just me traveling. But anyway, this was the thing that I said, that it's always so hard to estimate how much yarn to bring on a trip, how much time you're going to have knitting, and I also always want to have a couple of different projects. For example, if just for change, I want to change and do something else, or another reason is that something about the design didn't go as I planned, so that I can't continue it, and on that exact moment I have to go back to my calculations, my math, and figure things out, or my charts, or something else that I don't like, and I have to like put that aside, and then I want to have something else to do as well. So I had yarns for 4 different projects with me for the 2-week trip, but of course I didn't bring 4 sweater words of yarn because I was pretty sure that there's no way that I'm going to knit 4 full sweaters during the trip. So for this one I only took 2 skeins with me, and this is how far I got with those 2 skeins. I haven't had time to wind the yarn yet, so been working on the Ballard pullover after I got home so that I can write the pattern. But for this one I have written the pattern already, it's already being test knitted. I could do that, oh just a second, just grab Mila cardigan over here. So I showed this to you already in my previous videos. So this is the matching Mila cardigan, so it has the same pattern. The only difference with the sweater and the cardigan is the neck. So here's the cardigan and here's the pullover. So this has a round ribbed neck, and of course the cable pattern joins at the neck, whereas this one has a V-shaped neck and it's open at the front, so you never join it in the round for the body. So basically the sleeves and the body, except for the opening at the front, are the same for this one, the cardigan version of the Mila patterns, as for this one. So that's why I already could write the pattern and put it out for test knitting, because the neckline was basically the only change in the pattern that I wanted to see and figure out before I knew how it's going. So just have to continue a bit on the body, and then this is ready to be joined in the round, and then I can work the rest of the body in the round and make the sleeves. The yarn for this one is one of the most gorgeous yarns that I have ever used. This is Camellia Fiber Company, and this is the Yak DK base. This is colorway dark chocolate, and I have been looking for the perfect like cool dark brown for a while, and when I saw that Simplia posted a picture of this colorway on their Instagram page, I knew immediately that this was it, and I ordered it, and I had never seen the yarn live, so I didn't quite know what I was expecting except for the yarn, but this is such a gorgeous yarn. It has, because it has 65% merino wool, 20% silk and 15% yak, so I think it's because of the silk. It's slightly like shiny, and even though this color is quite dark, I think it's still very suitable for cables because of the sheen of the yarn. You can still see all the pattern very well. So if this was something like more like a matte color way, more rustic yarn, you might not see this stitch pattern as well as you can see it here. So it's totally gorgeous. It's similar yarn to the one that I have here on the sweater that I'm wearing at the moment. So this is the Alvar pullover, and this is also Yak DK yarn, but this is from Le Chart tricote, but the yarn is similar, so even with this one you can really see all the stitch patterns really well. So I absolutely love both this yarn and also this one, so I'm sure as soon as I get this one off my needles, this is going to be such a wardrobe staple. I think I'm going to be living in this sweater all the time. It's so beautiful, and the color is one of my favorite colors, and I wish I could just like give this to you like this and you could reach out and try how it feels, because it's beautiful. It's so smooth and gorgeous and not itchy at all. But yeah, so this was kind of like the first thing I continued or casted on while I was in Seattle. No, it wasn't the first thing I casted on. The Ballard pullover was the first thing I casted on. This was the second thing I casted on, but this was the one that I worked on first because I wanted to get the pattern ready for test knitting. So both of the cardigan and the pullover versions are being test knitted at the moment, and they are coming in March. So I just have to finish my sample before that as well. So this was the yarn for that. And like I said, I kept working on the Laulu pullover, and I made the sleeves and the rest of the body during my trip. I forgot to show you the yarns that I used for this one. So this is Knitting For Olive Merino and soft silk mohair. So this is the merino base. The colorway is called Dark Mousse, and then soft silk mohair in the colorway Rainy Day. And this is kind of like the combination that I would never have picked out on the computer screen, because this is more in the brown family and this is more in the gray family. And usually when I pick yarns on my computer screen, especially with Knitting For Olive, because they have so many different options, they have so many almost white yarns or almost grey yarns or almost pink yarns, that it's really hard to compare them on the computer screen. So I usually take the safe bet and I choose the same color from both yarns. So I would have picked also the Dusty Mousse from this one if I chose them on the computer screen. But I went to Copenhagen last summer. I visited the Knitting for Olive shop, and it was so nice to kind of like mix and match all the yarns over there and see how they look like together, and this is the combination that I came up with. Also at La Mercerie shop they are carrying Knitting for Olive, so if you want you can go there and match the yarns in the same way as I did. And I absolutely love how these two yarns look together. So this is kind of like really like warm grey color. That's absolutely beautiful. I really want to use the same combination for something else. I was planning to make a little Laulu shawl also with these leftover yarns because I absolutely love this, but this would also make a really nice, like just very basic sweater, or also cable sweater. But I've been wanting to make a very basic sweater for a while. I don't really have those in my wardrobe because everything I always knit are things with cables or with texture or with lace, so I don't really have many like very basic sweaters. That's one of the things that I'm planning to knit more this year. So I want to make kind of like those simpler patterns, because I often hear that people think that my patterns, my designs are really complicated. Well, they are complicated, but I always try to write my patterns so well that you don't have to figure out anything for yourself. So I try to do that myself before. So you just follow the pattern, and even though it might look very complicated, it isn't that when you start working on it. But that's why one of the reasons why I decided to make the Ballard pullover. So this is much simpler than many of the other things that I often knit. So I want to kind of like create those simpler, more basic patterns as well, and not just have everything that is super complicated. Although I love knitting complicated stuff, it's so fun, and like the sense of accomplishment after you finish something like that, like oh, wow, I made that. So, but yeah, that was one of the things that I wanted to do more this year. So more simple patterns, like those, kind of like start to create this basic collection for me. And the second thing for, or a theme for this year, is that I want to make more cardigans, because I don't have that many cardigan patterns. I prefer knitting sweaters. One of the reasons is that you can work them in the round, and I don't like making button bands. I don't like sewing in buttons. And I think sweaters are also easier to wear, because if you have a cardigan, then you have to be mindful about what you have under the sweater. Well, today I'm wearing a t-shirt, but often I just have like a tank top or a camisole under my sweater. So you don't really have to think about anything else that you're going to wear that day. Just throw on your sweater and you're all set. But if you have a cardigan, you have to think what you're wearing under the cardigan and all that. So that's why I prefer knitting and designing sweaters to cardigans. But anyway, one of my plans for this year is to make more cardigans, and I already made the Mila cardigan that I showed to you, and I have another cardigan here next to me, and I have a sample knitter working on a Rivendell cardigan for me at the moment, and I have a few other plans for cardigans as well. So this is the year of cardigans for me, the year of simple and the year of cardigans. So that's something that I'm going to be making this year. So I went to Bainbridge Island in Seattle to La Mercerie yarn shop, and I had the best 4 days over there. I was super nervous before going there because I'm kind of like more of an introvert person, and because English is not my first language, I'm always a bit afraid if I understand everything people say to me, and small talk in not my language that is not my native language is always really hard, and like if I forget all my words and people don't understand what I say and so on. So I stressed about all that stuff a lot before going, but the weekend was such a magical experience for me. Everybody was so nice to me and so welcoming. I had a few classes and we had a knit night that was totally sold out. We had 35 people attending the knit night, and then we had a couple of brunches and a crafternoon session with people dropping in and knitting with us around this big table, and so much hugs and laughter and inspiration and talking to people. It's just I don't even have words to describe the feeling. So it was so well welcomed to Bainbridge and to La Mercerie. And if you have never been to La Mercerie yarn shop, definitely put that in your bucket list. It was one of the most beautiful yarn shops I have ever visited. So they were kind of like carrying all my favorite yarns. They had La Bien Amy, they had Dererum Natura, they had Knitting for Olive, Brooklyn Tweed. Everything was so beautifully created, and I said to Jess, who is the owner of the yarn shop, that if I ever had a yarn shop, I think it would look exactly like La Mercerie. So it could have been my yarn shop. It's kind of like my dream yarn shop, and if I lived closer, I know that it would be my favorite local yarn shop. I would be a frequent customer over there, so just go there. All the people who are working there are amazing and so kind and helpful. So just go there, visit the shop. And I was also promoting my book, so I brought some of my samples with me so people got to see them and try them on and feel how how they feel like. And I had two occasions where I talked about making of this book, so how the book came to be and all the work that goes behind the scenes when you create a knitting book. So it was such a wonderful weekend. So this is my book. It's Softly Thomas Knits, and it came out in last October, and I will put a link below this video where you can buy it if you want to buy it straight from my publisher. But I know that if you're overseas, then the shipping costs for the book through my publisher can be quite expensive. So you can also try googling your country where you live and the name of the book, and see if you have some local yarn store or a bookshop that carry the book. I know there are quite a few around the world. There are a couple of ones in Australia, for example. There are quite a few places to buy this in the US and in Canada. La Mercerie sold out all the copies of the book while I was in there, but I just was going to order more of it, so you can also ask for that from there. But anyway, this is my book. And during the knit night, just had this idea of casting on for the Melody beanie from my book. So it's, let me just find it to you. So it is this one over here. So here's the sample from the book. So this is actually like double-sided hat. You started with a provisional cast on, let's say over here. So you make a provisional cast on, then you make the whole ribbing, and after that change to working in stockinette stitch and make the first side of the hat. After that you undo the provisional cast on and make the second side, and then just put these sides like this and fold the brim. So it has an extra thick brim and double thickness over here. And in the book we have another sample that has two colors, so the ribbing and one side is in one color and then the other side is in a second color. So when you fold it, you can either have a unicolor hat or a hat with the ribbing in one color and the stockinette stitch in one color, so you get kind of many different looks out of just like one single pattern. Just turning this around and folding the brim. So Jess had the idea to cast on for these hats during the knit night, and of course I had to do that as well. So here's my Melete hat. Actually during the knit night, it was a 2-hour knit night, I ended up being there for almost 3 hours. I casted on the stitches and I made a whopping round and a half of the rib during the whole knit night, and I think that will tell you how fun I had, because I was more into talking with people than knitting. So that tells you, I think that tells you everything you need to know about the knit night. So it was a very successful knit night in every other sense, except my knitting didn't really progress at all during the night. But the next day we had the crafternoon. I continued on the ribbing and then I worked on this one. Also when I was in New York, so I went to see a Broadway show in New York. I went to see the Back to the Future musical, which was super good. I absolutely loved it. It was my first Broadway show ever, and it was so amazing. Everything, I don't even have words for it, so if you have a chance to see the musical, please do. But I wanted to do something during the musical that I don't have to look at, because the theater is going to be dark. So ribbing is something that I can do with my eyes closed. I've talked about this in my previous videos as well, because I can feel with my fingers. So when I hold my fingers over here, so I can like always feel what the next stitch is going to be, so I can feel whether it's a knit stitch or a purl stitch. So if there's like this ridge coming up, then it's a knit stitch, and if there's if it goes down, then like between the stitches I can feel there's like a ditch between the stitches, then I know it's a purl stitch. So I don't have to see what I'm knitting, I can just like mechanically continue doing that. And I worked on the ribbing for the duration of the musical. Also it helps me concentrate. If I have my hands doing something mechanical, then I can focus on watching what is happening on the scene and listening to people talk and so on much better than I do if I don't have any knitting. But anyway, this is how much progress I have made with the Melete hat, and I'm almost done with the ribbing, and then I can continue with the stockinette stitch top part. I picked these yarns from La Mercerie. They are woolberry yarns, and I don't remember the colorway name, but I will write it below this video. So these are the same colorway for both yarns. They just look a bit different because the base is different and different bases take the color differently, but they are both from woolberry. This is if I remember correct, it's not a silk mohair, but it was a Sari alpaca yarn and a merino yarn. But I will write the colorway names below the video. So that's one of the things I casted on during the trip, and I have one more thing that I casted on my travels, and this is the last one. So this is called the Book Club cardigan, and just finished the increases for the back over here, and I'm ready to start working the straight section of the back until the armholes. Then I will work the fronts and join everything together under arm. So it's going to have this same cable pattern also on the fronts. It's going to have a V-neck. I haven't yet decided whether it's going to have a double knitted bottom band or a shawl collar. Still a bit undivided on that. I think I want to finish the body first to see how I like it. And I'm also planning to make pockets. So here you can see, so it has this kind of like diamond pattern and then this wheat ear pattern next to it on each side. And the yarns that I'm using for this one is actually, I'm going to Love Yarn Madrid festival next week, and I bought these yarns from the event last year, so I thought that I should cast something on with them before I go again. So I have to use up the things that I bought last year before going again and buying more yarn. So these are from a knitted closet. This is organic wool, DK weight, and it's natural 03. And this one is the knitted closet silk mohair in colorway walnut. So this is the combination that I'm using, and I love how it's turning out. I think the silk mohair is giving it a beautiful bit of like this golden brown color to the texture. So here it is. So it's called the Book Club cardigan. I love the name. I came up with the name something like a year ago, and when I saw these yarns at Love Yarn Madrid, I knew that they were going to become a cardigan. So I just haven't had time to cast on it before now. I bought them a year ago in February, and after that I was already knitting all kinds of summer things, and in the winter or autumn I didn't have time to cast on, so now it's time to cast on for this cardigan. I will show you more of it as soon as I have been working on it. So after I went to Bainbridge, I was supposed to go to Portland. I really wanted to go to Ritual Dyes, and I had to set up a meeting with Brooklyn Tweed because I've been such a big fan of Brooklyn Tweed for years. It was kind of like one of the biggest reasons why I started to knit again. So I learned how to knit when I was a child, but I didn't do that for many years, and then I picked it up again in university. And at that time I think all the knitting patterns that were available, especially in Finland, were really old-fashioned. So that's why I started designing my own patterns. And after I found Pinterest, I also found Ravelry through Pinterest, and I think Brooklyn Tweed patterns were the first ones that I found I thought that were like really well made. They were really like tailored to fit, and they were beautiful classic designs with thoughtful constructions, and I learned so many techniques from knitting their patterns, but we didn't have any place in Finland at that time where you could buy their yarns. We had a couple of places here in the middle, but now again nobody sells Brooklyn tweed yarns in Finland, so we don't get them here. So if I want to use them, I always have to order them online overseas. So I really wanted to go and visit the team of Brooklyn Tweed because, like I said, I've been fangirling them for years, and they have been like my idols and inspiration, and like something that set up an example to me that knitwear designing can also be this. So when I decided to go to Seattle and I saw that Portland is 3.5 hours by train, I thought that I had to take the trip and also go to Portland at the same time, and also I wanted to go to Ritual Dice as well at the same time. If you have been following me on Instagram, you know that I never made it to Portland. So I was going to make a day trip after returning on Sunday evening from Bainbridge back to Seattle, mainland Seattle. I was going to take the train on Monday morning to Portland, spend the day in Portland and come back in the evening because I had a Tuesday morning flight to New York, so I only had that one day to go, and I had booked the train tickets well in advance. And then I hopped on the train. Actually, I didn't hop on the train because there was no train. When I got to the station, they told us that the train has been cancelled and we are supposed to take a bus instead. So they put us on buses and we started to drive, and we had a stop in Tacoma, and then I think it was Olympia, and after that Portland. So we made it to Tacoma and the bus broke down. And nobody really told us what was happening, so we sat on the bus for about 1 hour at the Tacoma station. The people who were supposed to board the bus were just standing outside in the rain for 1 hour. The bus driver was doing something, we didn't really know what. Then he came in and said that the bus has broken down. He has called for a replacement bus, but it's 1 hour away because of all the traffic. So he's still trying to keep on fixing the bus. And when I went to the inside of the station building, there was a printed A4 paper on the wall which said that there had been mudslides, and that's why the trains were cancelled, and that's why we were taking the bus, but nobody had told us this. Before I went to the Tacoma station, I saw the paper on the wall, and after that I think we were about 2 hours in Tacoma and nobody really told us what was happening. They were just saying that a replacement bus is coming, and then I started to think that I didn't have that much time in Portland after all, and I was supposed to make it back in the evening, and I started to think that if this is what it's like, maybe it's the best thing that I will hop off the train and go back to Seattle, because I don't want to sit somewhere middle of nowhere with broken buses and waiting for replacement buses for hours during the night on my way back. So I went to the station building and asked them if there is a way for me to cancel my trip to Portland and take a go back to Seattle instead. And they told me at that point, they said that it's going to take something like 30 to 45 minutes for the replacement bus to arrive to the Tacoma station and take us to Portland, or if I wanted to go back to Seattle, there was another bus coming in just a few minutes. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to cancel, because at that point we didn't even know if if the replacement bus was coming in 30 or 45 minutes, because it kept changing all the time. And so I cancelled my trip, and then we waited and we waited and we waited, and there was no bus. And then there was a bus that came to the station, and everybody was like totally confused that, well, what is this, where is it going? And it turned out it was the bus going to Portland. And then we heard that the bus that was supposed to come to Tacoma, to Seattle, hadn't even left Olympia yet, because it had also broken down. So this story, when I'm telling it, it's like, I feel all the time like I'm making things up, that there just can't be so many things that can go wrong during one day. But yeah, everything happened. So the people who decided to go to Portland boarded the Portland bus and it left, and the people who were going to Seattle stayed at the station. And we were told that because the bus that was supposed to go to Seattle had broken down, the bus that was replacing the next train would be coming there before that, and it was like half an hour. So okay, let's wait for another half an hour. And when that half an hour had passed, we learned that the bus that was supposed to come hadn't even reached Olympia yet, so it was still like 1 hour away. So we had one bus that was broken in Olympia and one bus that was supposed to be already in Tacoma that hadn't even reached Olympia yet, and nobody could tell us when that bus was coming. So I asked, is this like really the only way for me to get from Tacoma to the Seattle? And then they told me, oh, there's a local bus, it leaves every half an hour and it costs $3 and it's just like a block and a half away. I'm like, you're only telling me this now? So I went outside, walked the block and a half, I got the bus, it came almost immediately after I came to the bus stop. I made it back to Seattle, and to get from Seattle to Tacoma, which is like 20-30 kilometers away from Seattle, and back took me 5.5 hours altogether. So I didn't get to go to Portland after all, but I got a lot of knitting done, and that's when I finished the bottom ripping. I made almost the entire first sleeve during that trip. I made the second sleeve of the Laulu pullover on the plane from Seattle to New York. So when I arrived in New York, I only had a couple of centimeters of the second cuff left. So something productive came out of that day after all, but I was super bummed not to be able to go to Brooklyn Tweed. I had to cancel that trip, send a message that I can't come after all, and I didn't get to go to Portland, but at least I have another reason to go there at some other point later on. Have to plan another trip and go to Portland on that trip then. But anyway, that was my unfortunate trip to Portland that never happened. So after that I flew to New York because there was the Vogue Knitting live, and I have seen it so many times on Instagram. Every time they have had it, people fill my Instagram feed with photos from Vogue Knitting live, so I wanted to see that for myself, and I went there and it was super fun. I had a meet and greet at Mayak booth. I had the sample of the Calliope pullover that is on the cover of my book with me, because it's knitted with Mayak's Tibetan Cloud yarn. And I also had little eclair scarf that I made for their Cora Club. It's this beautiful colorway of their Baby Yak medium. So I made a little cable scarf pattern for them. So it's only available on when you buy the yarn. at their website on their Cora Club, and I will release it as a single pattern later this spring, maybe early May or something like that. So I was there, and also I saw so many people that I have been following on Instagram, and other people as well, and talked to so many yarn vendors and dyers and knitters, and I love yarn festivals because of the people who come there and all the inspiration you get from them, and everybody is always so happy, and the energy is something that like you just like can't feel down when you're at yarn festivals, because everybody is so happy, and the joy is contagious. So I always feel it so much when I go to yarn festivals. I'll quickly show you what I bought from there. So one of the vendors I wanted to see was the Wandering Flock. I have been following them for a long time on Instagram. I love their pastels, so I'm going to make probably a hat with this combination. So this is extra fine merino base fingering weight, and this is super good mohair and silk, and they are both in the colorway Electric Orchid. You can see it over there. It's a really beautiful pinkish purple colorway. And I also bought sweater worth of, this is DK weight merino yarn, also from the Wandering Flock, and the colorway is called Beach Party. Don't know why it doesn't want to focus on text anymore for me, but anyway, so this is the colorway Beach Party. So it's kind of more like beige than white, grayish beige base, and it has all these fun little speckles. So I bought a sweater worth of this one. And then I have it here behind me from Camellia Fiber Company. So I've been using their yarn for a couple of projects. First I made the Moonflower pullover, and now the Mila pullover that I showed to you. So it was really nice to meet Silvia in person. So this is the flax fingering base, and the color is called Clay Dust, and I'm going to use this for a summer tea design. So it's a really nice, beautiful alpaca, linen and silk blend. So I think it's going to be really nice for a summer design. And then this was a new yarn for me. It's called a Yin Yang from Loop Fiber Studio, and I got or bought two different colorways. So they have like a base color and then like a ply of a contrasting color. So this one has a beige base, and then it has like this hot pink plies of color, and this one has more like dark blue, or I think like very gray dark blue, and then it has a bit of like burgundy yarn as a ply in it. So it's not kind of like tweed, but it's like multicolor yarn, and I thought this was like really fun. So this is the colorway Thunder, and this is colorway Makeup. I haven't decided what I want to make with them, but I saw similar types of like plied yarns a couple of different vendors had this type of yarn, and I don't think I have really seen this in Finland. So I kind of like want to try them out, and also want to see if this is like an upcoming trend. For example, like all these speckled yarns we had for a while. So if these like multicolored plied yarns are something that is going to become more popular over the years, or if it's just a curiosity, I don't know. But I bought 2 of them. This one, this is Patrick Knits America yarn. It's American Rambouillet and Merino yarn, and this is the colorway Hums, I think. Beautiful light grey, so I'm going to use this for a hat, probably combine it with silk mohair or something like that. So those are the yarns that I bought from Vogue Knitting Live. I didn't have that much room in my suitcase because I had the samples with me when I went to Bainbridge. And I forgot to show you this one. So this is something that I got from Bainbridge. So this is their own yarned ampersand fibers, and this is the Jensen DK base. So it's 100% Corriedale. So I have a sweater worth of this off-white yarn now, and I'm going to use them for a cable sweater. I already have everything planned in my head. I just have to find time to cast it on. I have to get a couple of things off my needles first, and then I'm ready to cast on. I have one more thing I wanted to show to you. I didn't take this one with me when I went on my trip. So this is something I casted this on already before Christmas, but been busy making all kinds of other things. So this is also from my book. So this is the arch colored scarf. So it's this one. So in the book we had the long version, so there's like this turtleneck collar in the middle that you can put around your neck, and then like these 2 sides of the scarves, like 2 long scarves that you can wrap around your neck, and the turtleneck will keep your neck covered, and it will also help to keep the scarf in place so it won't fall or open. And when I made the book, I had planned to make also kind of like a small collar version, but I ran out of time. So I'm going to just make like a shorter one, like 3 pattern repeats, and then make a ribbing over here, and the same for the back. So that's what I'm doing over here. So here's the turtleneck part over here, and this is going to be the first side, and made 2 pattern repeats for it already. So maybe one more, and then a bit of ribbing, and then the same for the other side. So I have like a short collar to wear under my jacket instead of like a long scarf. So I wanted to do this for the book as well. So again, thinking about my book, Softly Threadless Knits, and I'll show you the scarf. So it's this one over here, and here you can see a few photos of me wearing it over here. So that's the scarf. But yeah, I didn't have time to make the collar version for the book, and I had to say stop at some point. I just can't like keep adding stuff all the time, so this didn't make it to the book, but I decided to make it now after all. For this one I'm using Togo wool fingering. This is the Humu colorway, and then Isagar silk mohair. This is the colorway 2S. So that's the combination for that. That's all the knits that I had for today's episode. Next week I will be going to Madrid for the Love Yarn Madrid festival, and I will be teaching 2 classes over there, so there's still some spaces left for both classes. So next week on Friday I will be teaching a class about cables, and it's a bit more advanced cable class. I will be talking about how to create your own cables, how to modify cables, combine them, how to add texture to cables, and also how to create your own fisherman style cable patterns. And I will also be teaching or showing you how I knit cables without a cable needle, so that will make knitting cables a lot faster, as well as how to measure gauge over cabled patterns. And then on Saturday I have another class. It's about lace knitting, how to increase and decrease in lace patterns. So if you want to learn either of those, there are a few spots left on both classes. So go to Love Yarn Madrid website. There's a link to all the workshops and you can check them out from over there. And again, at the festival I will be at Mayak booth for a while, and also I will be at the Le Chatque Tricote booth at some point. We haven't set up a time yet because I designed this little scarf pattern that I'm releasing next week. This is actually the wrong side, sorry. So this is the right side of the scarf. So this is called the Tiny Shells scarf, and there's like these lace sections and a bit of textured knits in between. So it's a really lightweight summer scarf that you can make with just one skein of yarn. And this is a new merino and bamboo base from Le Chatque Tricote that they are debuting at Love Yarn Madrid Festival, so I'm releasing this pattern at the same time. But yeah, that's everything I had for today's episode. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. So if you like my patterns, remember to subscribe to my channel, so every time I put out a new video there's going to be a notification for you, so you don't miss any of my episodes. I will be making my next video after I come back from Madrid and show you what progress I have made on my knits, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to cast on something new, because like I said, I want to cast on always something new when I travel for my travel project. So let's see what that is going to be. That's everything for today. See you. Bye.